So guys, we're going to start today with today's science lesson. Last week we talked about producers, consumers, scavengers, and decomposers. So we have a little chart here just to kind of keep us thinking about our background knowledge. We have producers, which we talked about are animals, or rather living things like plants, that create their own food. We can't feed a plant food, it makes its own through photosynthesis like we learned earlier this year. Also, there's consumers. Consumers are animals that eat other animals. We are probably the biggest and the best examples of consumers because we get all of our food from other things. We plant, we farm, we also hunt and kill animals, unfortunately, but we do that for the reasons of eating them. Scavengers eat dying animals. When I think of scavengers, I think of, what is that? Oh yes, hyenas. Hyenas are a great example of scavengers because they eat other animals that are dying or dead. And then decomposers, we talked about, get their energy from dying things like mushrooms, get energy from plants and things of that nature. So that's just our background knowledge that we need for today's lesson. With that being said, we're going to talk about food chains. I earlier spoke to you about this, but food chains, yes, we are? Yeah, these are, a food chain is the exchange of energy between multiple animals. Generally, it starts with a small animal to a medium-sized animal and a large animal. That largest animal is, yes, it's the top of the food chain. It's the top of the food chain because nothing can eat that animal. What is an example of an animal that could be at the top of a food chain? And mind you, it's eating other things. So remember, it is a consumer. Yeah, absolutely, yes. It's a lion would be a great example of an animal that's at the top of its food chain. So I could put the animal here, lion, because it's at the top of its food chain. And what that means is that nothing can eat it. It has no natural predators. But the lion, it preys on other animals. It eats other animals. So let's start in reverse. Let's start here. What could be the smallest living thing that starts a food chain? Any ideas? Is it going to be a small or a large animal? Just to give you guys a helpful hint. Yes, yeah, generally it is. It's a smaller animal, something that can be consumed, something that's eaten. Sometimes it's even a producer, sometimes an animal like a plant, like grass, or something like maybe an apple tree, something like that could be eaten by a small animal. So let me give you an example of a smaller living thing that is an animal that starts our food chain off. It has to be in the same habitat as a lion. Any ideas? Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. We start off with a snake. Snakes can be consumed. They can also be consumers where they eat smaller things, but a snake can certainly start off our food chain. So what's something that's a little bit bigger that could eat a snake? There's lots of different examples. There's lots of things that are going through my head right now. Oh, that's a great example. Say that again out loud. Yeah, a warthog. Warthogs live in the same habitat as a snake and a lion, but warthogs prey on snakes. So this is our food chain. It starts with a snake, it moves its way up to a warthog, and then finally to a lion. And that is our little miniature food chain. There's certainly lots of other options, but that's the one that we chose. And it makes sense because if you think about it in terms of size, this is the smallest animal, a snake, which moves its way up to a warthog, then finally to a lion. The lion's at the top of its food chain because nothing can eat it. So, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to break into groups. Our groups, I found a wonderful game on the internet. We are going to go to this website right here. So, guys, now that you are in your pairs, your partners and you have your laptops, I want you to type in this website. I'm going to give you a moment to do this. Remember, we've been this year practicing typing on the computer. Remember, technology is a wonderful thing, so we've been using it. This is the website. It's called shepherdsoftware.com/food-chain-game. And there's a hyphen in between that connects the words. And when you get it on your laptops, it should bring you to this screen. And what we're going to do is we're going to follow the instructions. The instructions say to drag the parts of the food chain to their correct place. Well, how am I going to drag something if I have these hands of mine and I'm using a laptop. That's correct, I have to use a mouse. So we're going to drag the parts of the food chain that go in the right spot. I'm going to show you an example of the first one. So here is my laptop. Our instructions say to drag the part, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to click on the left part that says on the mouse, and we're going to play the game. So I see 3 animals, a bird, a flower, and a caterpillar. I have to figure out what's going to start my food chain. Any ideas? Correct, yeah. A flower is going to start my food chain. It's the smallest living thing. So I click it, and I drag it in, and it accepts it. So that means I'm right. So I kind of complete my food chain. I have to think first, though, what's going to eat a flower? Does the bird eat the flower, or does the caterpillar eat the flower? Yeah, that's right. The caterpillar eats the flower. So the caterpillar goes second, and the bird is at the top of its food chain. Just for this specific one. This is a tinier bird, so it could possibly be eaten by something else, but for this food chain, this is how it works. And look, how wonderful.